Hey everybody, welcome to
Saki Toobi.
Imagine being a teenager, thrust into the center of a gruesome murder case that captivates the nation. Now, picture the evidence against you is largely based on public hysteria and a coerced confession. This is the chilling reality of the West Memphis Three. Today we'll delve into the controversial case that shocked the world, unraveling the complex web of legal battles, media frenzy, and the fight for justice. Get ready to explore the depths of a true crime story where innocence and guilt are far from clear-cut. Hey everybody, it's Detto. We're back. I'm here with a special guest, and I'm psyched about this one. Man, oh man, one of my best friends ever in life, Jay.
Hey, what's going on?
There we go. We're here. What have you been up to, buddy? What's your latest?
Same old. Working, kids, life.
Digging up dog shit and throwing it in another pile?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate that. That's how I go. Put in a pool. That just means I'm throwing money away now.
Nice.
So we are here today to discuss WM3 and the nature of it. And you and I have very different opinions on this, which is going to be crazy.
I still don't know exactly what your opinion is.
My opinion is it's cohesion or collusion. That small, white bread, infested town, they all stick together. And they pick 3 kids to just destroy.
So you think the kids were targeted?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The reason I think that is because Damien Echols was the smartest person out of all of them. He was 18. He's smarter than the adults.
So we're talking about West Memphis, Arkansas.
West Memphis, Arkansas, that's correct. And the 3 8-year-olds that were savagely murdered, disoriented, and left to die in a ravine. And they basically convicted these kids with zero evidence. And the one person that did it was a guy with no credentials.
Allegedly.
No, he has no credentials. It's not alleged. He has no credentials.
But you're saying the guy that did it.
He was the one that said all that stuff that led the jury, the 6 people in the box, to believe that.
2 juries.
It was 2 juries. Well, the first one did not convict. Yes, they did. Sorry, they did.
So 2 juries were assembled, 2 trials were conducted, and on both trials, the verdict was guilty, life in prison, or death sentence.
That's correct.
Okay.
The first trial, they held the youngster for 12 hours with zero legal representation. The kid's IQ was 72.
Well, that isn't evidence.
And that's what they built their entire case on.
So there are police reports that document the happenings in the stations and things like that. That claim that he was interrogated for 12 hours is not based on a fact or a record or anything like that, where there's not a record at a police station that...
He said he was.
You're talking about Jesse Miss Kelly.
That's correct. He said he was.
Right. So
he gave a statement. He said that he saw the kids do it.
He did say he did.
So which one is right and which one is wrong?
Who's right and who's wrong where?
No, I said which statement is right and which statement is wrong.
Are you talking about just his confession?
I'm saying that they had him in the interrogation room for 12 hours with no legal representation. And then they took his statement and used it.
But that's the part.
But you're saying that he wasn't in that room, and there's evidence that would say that he wasn't in that room for 12 hours.
Right.
Okay, where's that evidence?
The evidence is a lack of evidence, where if someone's brought into a station, there's a police report for your attendance there and what took place there. There is no record of attendance by Jesse Miss Kelly where he was held in a room for 12 hours.
Then how can you have a statement?
He can give a statement and still not be in a room for 12 hours.
So where was he?
He could have been just brought in.
Is there evidence of where they took the statement from?
I would imagine.
Well, where is it? They have evidence that he wasn't in the room for 12 hours, but they don't have any evidence that he gave a statement outside of it?
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that if they brought Jesse Miss Kelly down to the station for to catch a statement or to get a confession out of him or whatever, so be it. But the claim that he was held in a room for 12 hours, that that is still a stipulation or it's not documented. There should be a record that shows.
There should be a record.
Of course, yeah.
But there's no record that shows he actually just gave a statement for no reason.
Right. However.
So how do you believe either one?
Well, I think
this is just the tip of the iceberg.
It is. It's a detail, like a minute detail. I'm just saying there is another side to the story that says if he was held in a police station for 12 hours, that there would be a record of that holding for 12 hours. I believe he gave a statement, and in that statement, there was a confession.
Your belief doesn't really equate to anything positive.
I'm not saying it's my belief that happened.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm just saying I've heard, I've listened to a lot of testimonies on this case, read a lot of things about it, and I've heard multiple times that the claim that he was held for 12 hours is not like a legitimate claim because there is no record of him being held for 12 hours.
Where did you hear this?
Multiple places. I've listened.
Anything substantial? Is there any documentation of it?
No, because I would say it's a lack of evidence, whatever. So however,
we're talking about here, he said, she said type thing.
Sure. Bottom line, he gave a confession of guilt, recalled details of the event, things like that.
If you were held in an interrogation room for 12 hours, against your will,
yep,
would you say whatever you could to get the hell out of there?
Sure.
Okay.
And I hope you keep that mind frame later when we talk about the IQ test.
My IQ is low.
Now, Jesse Miskelly confessed 5 times, not just the one time in the interrogation. He's confessed 5 times. 2 times it's recorded.
2 times it's recorded.
2 times it's recorded.
Okay, so he's only confessed twice.
No,
you can't say he confessed 5 times.
There's records that take place outside of a video camera. So on video, he confessed 2 times.
So it's 2 times he did it.
Confessed. But there's record of him confessing 5 times.
There's record of anything 5 times. 4 out of 5 dentists prefer Crest.
Sure. But that argument could go on and on and on about
that's right.
All of your,
but there's 2 times.
All of your science that you've ever heard.
It's not science.
I'm just saying.
It's like 4 out of 5,000 dentists prefer Crest.
But there's 5 recorded instances of his confession. 2 of them are recorded on video.
The 2 that are recorded, the ones that will take into account.
You have to take the other ones into account because they are also recorded in the same way that your taxes are recorded. They take your ledger or your documentation of it that is accepted as, same with an office, same with a lot of things. If you record your instances on paper or whatever, so let's just say one of his confessions took place between, and this alone is very, very, creates a lot of skepticism and everything, is one of his confessions took place from the courthouse where he was found guilty and he confessed on the travel to the jailhouse. That's a little odd. He confessed to a murder.
It's odd not in the way you want it to be odd. It's odd in the opposite direction. Why there?
Because he was found.
Why are the only 2 people that heard it were probably the 2 police officers in the car?
And it was recorded.
Recorded.
They create an incident report from every transportation. I'm sure they don't come with every single transportation comes with, the guy admitted it on the way to prison. The guy's already going to prison. What the hell's he got to lose or gain or whatever? He's being transported to the jailhouse.
He has an IQ of 72.
Guilty. Well, funny you should bring that up. But hold on, I don't want to jump there yet.
All right.
5 confessions. 2 recorded. One of them recorded. You can find it. His lawyer spent 15 to 20 minutes trying to get him to not confess to it. And then he confesses to it. And in that confession, they talk about, one of them makes a claim, one of them recalls that the boys were hogtied, and Jesse corrects them and says, well, this boy wasn't hogtied. He was only tied around his wrists and blah, 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 whatever. But the point is, his legal representation was pleading with him not to confess, and he felt maybe his simplicity and his IQ, maybe he's less
He's
devious.
not that smart.
He may not be smart, but maybe a simple person says, hey, I know what's right and I know what's wrong and I know what's the truth and what's not the truth, and I can only tell you what I know. And that's maybe his simplicity doesn't work in his favor the way you'd like it to in this particular instance.
I will give you that.
Sure.
100%.
So there's 5. 2 recorded. 1 is under advised not to. 1 is on the way to the prison. 1 was by an inmate. So an inmate comes.
And the inmate gave a statement?
The inmate gave a statement because...
Stop right there. Unless it's from that guy, stop. Once it goes third party, forget it. I believe it even less than I believe you saying there's 5.
Okay.
So the 2 that are recorded, if it's his voice, gotcha. There's no way to defend that. Like, okay. But somebody else saying something that he was told? Nope. Absolutely not. Money talks.
All right. Do you think there's money exchanged between the 2 inmates?
I don't think there's money, but let's say, you got to do 5 years in here. You tell the story, you're out in 5 months.
You ever seen Shawshank Redemption?
I've seen a lot of movies.
It's not a guilty man in Shawshank. Remember that? Say, hey, what are you in for? Lawyer fucked me, right? Remember that scene?
Yep.
So I don't see a guy going to prison unless he realizes, I got caught. I'm here. I got nothing to hide.
You know what the funny part is? There's probably a lot of innocent people in prison.
I'm sure.
Because the guilty people take pleas.
Sure.
That's how fucked up the justice system is.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
But anyway, back to what you're talking about.
Well, let's skip to the IQ thing. So there's record to that, and I could be speaking out of school here, but I believe it's recorded because they were doing the IQ test with him. He was told by his legal team that if he was to score low enough on the test, that they wouldn't be allowed to give him the death penalty.
That is literally kind of contradicting yourself.
What would you do?
What would I do?
You did a murder, and you know you did it. You're a simple man. You know you did it. And someone comes to you and says, hey, you're going to trial. If you're found guilty, you could get the death penalty. However, if you score low enough on this test right here, they can't give you the death penalty. They can only give you a sentence. What would you do?
If you're a simple man, you're being told exactly what to do, which doesn't make you guilty. You're told what to do, and you can't think for yourself enough to say, okay, when you have all these people, hold on, because this will become important later on. When you're that low of an IQ, you become
80?
72. He had an IQ of 72.
I heard it was between 70 and 90.
It was 72. That's what he scored. And if you have in 70 is borderline mental retardation. That's where they start to go. Like you are literally...
Well, Jesse Miskelly held down regular jobs. He had relationships with women.
Are you saying that...
He went to school.
Are you saying that other people with a low IQ can't do that?
I'm saying that...
Why is that like a thing?
Well, I'm just saying, I think if you have a low IQ where you're still a functioning adult, I think you still recognize right and wrong. I think you still recognize,
But you panic in a different way. And you're likely to do something that you normally wouldn't do if these people that you think are better than you, or more important than you, are telling you to do something. You're more likely to do it.
Even in a car with 2 officers that are already bringing you to your...
They're police officers. When you were younger, didn't you do what the police officer said?
The 2 police officers transporting him to jail he's already been convicted. I don't think the police officers have any interest.
Why are they interrogating him anyway?
He wasn't interrogating him.
Then how did he give a statement?
They give an incident report of things that took place on their ride.
How?
On their ride.
That's the questionable point there. He's
saying on the ride, I killed those kids. I got convicted. I'm guilty. I did that shit.
That's what the police officer's saying. Show me where he said that.
They're just transporting him.
We're going to get into...
Yeah, you're right.
We're going to get into
where he said that.
You can't. So it's not provable. What I will say to you is it was the entire town.
Do you know that Jesse Miskelly enrolled in college classes once he was released from prison?
Yes. So he wasn't that dumb.
Whatever.
So somebody lied about something. There's so many lies here that's so wrong. Like, you can't go one way or the other. But I will tell you one thing that did happen. The shroud. Terry Hobbs did it.
Hold on.
There's no doubt.
Before you go any further, please keep in mind a few things. This scene of this crime was investigated by people, FBI agents, detectives that had been doing their jobs for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They investigated a crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
They put together evidence.
Mm-hmm.
They then took testimonies. They took word from, the locals, people that lived in the town. They took...
That's my point.
Just hear me out. They took other evidence of the boys' characters and things involved in their lives and all this stuff. And based on this evidence, and then they went to a courtroom. And in that courtroom, 2 lawyers went head to head. A jury decided in 2 separate cases that these older boys committed these murders. Hear me out.
Where did they get the jurors from?
Hear me out real quick. They found these kids guilty, these boys guilty, in 2 trials. Now, based on that, we're arguing whether or not these boys that were found guilty 2 times and given death sentences and death row and were found guilty by juries of their peers on 2 occasions based on evidence that was collected at the scene of a crime compared to evidence that were found in these boys' homes, their lives, their families, all these things. And that's why these boys were convicted. Terry Hobbs, his name comes up by nobody other than these documentary makers have posed that idea based off of just conversation. They didn't do an investigation. They didn't have FBI agents scrubbing this.
Did you ever watch his dispositions?
I don't care.
Depositions.
But keep in mind this. We're both fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine something of this nature happened to your kid or one of my sons, okay? In a what seems to be, from my perspective, a satanic ritual. These boys were brutally murdered.
I'm not debating it was satanic or not. It was.
I'm just saying, this happens, and then somebody, could you imagine the state that you would be in? And then someone comes and suggests, well, maybe it was you.
Terry Hobbs was not in that state.
I think if we're talking IQs and things like that, I think Terry
Mark
Hobbs...
Byron did the exact opposite of what I would have thought. Mark Byron is as guilty as Terry Hobbs. Mark Byron killed his wife.
Mark Byers.
Byers.
Yeah.
Mark Byers. Sorry. Mark Byers killed his wife because she knew what happened.
I've heard that almost everybody involved in that whole situation is dead today.
How about that?
Almost everyone.
So, what does that say to you?
It doesn't say to me that these 2 hillbillies corroborated this huge thing and then killed everybody involved.
That's the point. It was a satanic cult. It was, and you were right. And it was the entire town.
You think the entire town was all Satanists?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
That is completely...
I wouldn't call them Satanists.
But I'm saying, what you're saying now...
But they all in it together, and they covered each other's backs.
What you're saying now is a completely different perspective. And from anything that I've heard...
That's what it was.
And it's the opposite of what Hollywood and the supporters and all that stuff is the opposite of that. What they're saying is, this is such a conservative town. These are such Christian square folks that just the sight of these kids and their long hair. And
those are the ones that do it and try and get away with it.
That is a fresh perspective that I have never...
I will tell you one other thing. I don't know if the kids didn't do it, but they didn't do it alone. I would say that if they were actually part of the church or anything like that, or they knew these 2 men, Byers and Hobbs, they were talked into going along with it, which may explain why Jesse Miskelly was able to describe things, but they were forced, kind of like primal fear.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking at here. This is the way I would equate this. I don't think the kids had anything to do with it. Damien Echols is too well-spoken out of that entire town. That entire backwood town, one of them could speak well, and that was Damien Echols.
Sure.
The rest of them, Mark Byron, Mark Byers.
But maybe Damien speaks very well, and maybe he's the most intelligent guy in the group.
You ever hear about laying it on too thick?
Sure.
Mark Byers.
What about Damien Echols?
He didn't do anything.
But did you watch his persona in the
Yes.
courtroom and things like that? He was basically telling the courtroom that he did that.
I didn't take it as he did it. He kind of sat there and said, look, I've looked at... They brought up Aleister Crowley in the middle of the second one against the other two kids. What does Aleister Crowley have to do with anything?
Aleister Crowley has everything to do with it.
Why?
Because Aleister Crowley...
According to who?
According to the court case.
Okay. And why does he have to do with it?
Because Damien Echols is a student of black magic. He says repeatedly that his life's purpose, is one of his goals in life, was to become the greatest magician, magic with a K, to become the greatest magician that's ever lived.
What does that have to do with? Like, what?
If we believe
theory, religion, anything, what does that have to do with? Wiccan?
It's tough to categorize.
Because Wiccans don't want to hurt anyone.
Sure. I mean,
so if you're going after witches, then you're going to lose that one. Because they're all about nature, and procuring life.
Sure. I think Damien relied on...
I do find his name to be dubious.
Yeah, that's a changed name. Changed very, very close to the events, too. He was Michael before that.
Yes.
And then when asked... Damien has an MO. Is like whenever he tries to be very obvious. You know, he laughs at the victims' families. He carries a very arrogant persona in the courtroom. I mean, it's very hard to watch his antics in the courtroom.
I found it easier to watch his antics than everyone else's. Honestly,
I did not. I was first of all, I was very put off by how, through all the documentaries, through all the support from Hollywood, through everything, all everybody seems to care about is Damien Echols, Jesse Miskelly, and Jason Baldwin. Nobody talks about Christopher Byers.
The three kids. That's right.
And Michael Moore.
That's where I was going after this. No one says anything about that.
Especially Damien.
Why is that?
Because I think this is... I'm with you.
This is how they covered it up. Nobody talks about the kids that were killed. And that's where I was going to get to at some point. I was going to try and hit you with it when you didn't see it coming. But you did it first. You got me with it. But yes, why aren't we talking about the boys that were murdered?
Because I think this is
it's a town-wide cover-up. It's not the three of them.
I think it's a battle of beliefs. I think it's a battle of two different houses that have different belief systems. And
I think it's a bunch of perverts that got their jollies off and used the guys of the church to get away with it and cover it up.
Well, the hard argument about that is that Aleister Crowley, black magic, a lot of these occult beliefs.
You do realize that Aleister Crowley gave more back than he took. He was rich, and he was flamboyant. He was like Elton John.
I don't care what he was.
So,
the foundation of that's what he did with his, call him a philanthropist or whatever. I'm sure, somebody like Jeffrey Epstein has probably got a grocery list of charities and things like that he contributed to and that he donated to.
That's a fair statement right there.
Sure.
That's a fair statement. It's a fair assessment, fair statement, fair example. I got you there.
But my point in that is that Aleister Crowley's beliefs and the things that he was doing, had a lot to do with just living for yourself. Not, so...
well, that's normally what you're supposed to do.
I disagree.
It's okay.
But there's two schools of thought, There's one school of thought that says, we are all here, and the best we can do would be to figure out how to get along, how to enjoy life together, how to coexist together, and spread love from one person to the other.
That's actually just common sense.
There's another school of thought that says, and this is one of Aleister Crowley's mottos, and the motto he's known most for is, do as thou wilt. That basically states, if you enjoy it, you do that. And it doesn't really matter who's being affected by it, how it's affecting other people. You live for you and do you.
That's 100% true.
So think about that from the perspective of, say, someone who's into doing terrible things to children.
Well, then prove they did terrible things to children.
All I'm talking about is the theory and the philosophy of Aleister Crowley.
I get where you're coming from.
If someone was into, let's just say, doing terrible things to children, violence or sexual things involving violence, they were interested in doing things like that. There has to be a train of thought involved in that says, this is what I'm into. I don't care how it affects these children, these children's families. This is what I like. I'm going to do it. So that goes perfectly along with all of these beliefs in the Aleister Crowley books, his philosophies, his teachings was...
We're getting into perspective and narrative.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not, because these are very pertinent points in this case.
No, they're using Aleister Crowley to prove this, which I could say, I need to go out and do something good for somebody. And that's what Aleister Crowley is actually saying. Do what thou wilt. Right? So if I want to go out and help people, I can go out and help people. And it doesn't matter. No one's going to stop me from helping people. You're right. You're not wrong. You can take it the other direction, which you're going in now. So you can't use Aleister Crowley's statements as evidence as this is what would happen.
All that I'm saying is that there is a belief system involved here where when you couple that with black magic...
There is a belief system that's involved here. There is. And you and I both know this.
But they're key players.
It's not even black magic.
They're key players in this.
It's the end of episode 1, or the first part of this whole thing. This is a 2-part episode, so check out the next one next week. All right, guys, stay tuned. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.
Saki Toobi.
Hey, everybody. It's Dedo. Thanks for checking out the show today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe to us. We can hook up, interact. You can tell us what you like about the show. Talk about what you don't like about the show. Give us information and insight. We'd appreciate it. We only want to make the show better for you guys. Also, if you get a chance, head over to sumassembly.net. That's our sponsor, and he could really use some business. All right? As always, everybody, be good.
Saki Toobi.